I didn't think I'd be making this video. I really didn't, but you know, when I saw the Marek quote and I saw the quote from Kent Hughes, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a topic. This is a pretty beefy topic that I think could garner some great discussion at the helm of the Canadiens fan base based off of what the future could hold and based off of whatever prospects could be involved as well. So, as you might have heard, the Canadiens now have the first overall pick in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. It was a big deal yesterday seeing the Habs go from Stanley Cup finalists to last in the league to first overall for a draft that will be held in Montreal. It's a pretty big deal, and when it comes to Shane Wright, what he could potentially provide as a first overall selection, there's a whole bunch you could look forward to. However, even in my chat yesterday during the live stream, by the way, thank you so much for hanging out with us during our stream. We had a great time. It was a good few hours of talking about the draft and the prospects and the odds and everything, and then when the actual picks were revealed, we had a good time seeing that unfold live. But even in my chat yesterday, we had some people, Montreal fans specifically, because I don't know if you realize we have a lot of fans that are Canadiens fans in this channel's comment section. A lot of you were saying, okay, I don't really know if 100% of my heart lies with Shane Wright. Even if Montreal gets the first overall pick, I don't know if it's a unanimous, okay, Shane Wright is the guy we need on this team in the next few decades and a bit, if he is the guy that they take first overall. There are other players like the super skilled, super flashy Logan Cooley who are available. There's the big power forward winger Yurov that's available. There are some really good right-handed defensemen in Simon Nemec and David Jiricek who are available. These guys could both become top pairing right-handed D. And so for the Montreal Canadiens, they have themselves a choice at first that even if Shane Wright wasn't their guy, let's say they go out there and completely ignore the consensus rankings and they take somebody else, they're probably going to get a good player. And so, first overall, being Shane Wright, that just happens to be the de facto player that you're going to take when you get first overall because he's consensus number one everywhere. It's just, do you really need a two-way capable center who's probably good for 90 points in his prime, who's going to be splitting the load with Suzuki and everything? I mean, look, it sounds really nice on paper, but the thing is, when it comes to the Canadiens, you could argue that what Shane Wright could be for the Montreal Canadiens is not all too much better than what a Cooley or what a Slafkovsky or what a Jiricek could be for the Canadiens instead. Which is why we talk about trading the pick. And I know, it sounds like complete heresy to even acknowledge the idea that this could be a thing. The Montreal Canadiens with the first overall pick in Montreal, sorry, psych, it's not Montreal's anymore. They're trading it away. This is what Kent Hughes said about the first overall pick from yesterday. If we receive some calls, we'll listen, but we don't plan on trading the pick. And so now we have an idea saying that the Canadiens, they plan to use it. They're probably going to go out there and get Shane Wright, but in the hypothetical situation that they do get an offer that is too good to turn down, they will listen. Which is why Jeff Marek said this earlier today on the 32 Thoughts podcast. The Coyotes send the third overall pick this year and their first round next year to Montreal for the first overall pick this year. This is a hypothetical trade idea that Marek went out there and talked about in the broadcast, and it's one that has Canadiens fans at the time of recording this audio super polarized, because my immediate instinct when I saw this trade idea from Marek, third overall from Arizona and a first next year for first overall this year, my mind immediately said, boom, yeah, I'm doing that. 110%, no questions asked, I'm doing that trade if you're trading away the first overall pick. Pretty much, the Montreal Canadiens would be moving down in the draft 2 spots. And, you know, going from first to third isn't that bad, in my opinion, this year. Like, it's not the same gap between Connor McDavid and Dylan Strome in 2015. Like, that gap was incredibly vast. And even still, you had Mitch Marner, who went fourth overall right after. It's not like Austin Matthews and Pierre-Luc Dubois. This gap between Shane Wright and whoever is going to be third, it's Cooley, it's Slafkovsky, Nemec, whatever, I don't think the gap is going to be that big. And when you think about it, the Montreal Canadiens had a 55.5% chance at going down to third overall anyway, so them sticking around in the top 3 isn't really something that I think is all too detrimental. The reason I'm justifying it is because if you get the Arizona first from next year in a trade like this, you trade Montreal's first overall pick for Arizona's third overall pick and Arizona's first round pick next year, how good are the Arizona Coyotes going to be next year? Tell me that, because I'm not really too sure a Shane Wright is going to come in here and be a Connor McDavid and be a point-per-game player right away and carry the team to a wild card and have the team succeed to the point where they make it past the first round. The Arizona Coyotes are not going to do that, and they're not going to do that anytime soon, even if they do have their first overall Shane Wright pop off in that way. So, realistically, I think the team is still going to be pretty bad next year, right? Even if they have Shane Wright, they might overtake a few teams here and there. Heck, they're going to lose out on Kessel. They're not going to have that guy anymore. They're probably going to trade Chychrun. So this team's going to be dog water, aren't they? They could realistically finish last again, or second last because they were second last this year. Arizona's first round pick next year could be worth a fortune by the time May 2023 rolls around. And if the Montreal Canadiens are also pretty bad that year too, you could realistically have 2 top 5 picks in the 2023 draft, which in my opinion, and in many scouts' opinions as well, is going to be so much better than this year's draft up top. What with Bedard, with Mishkov, with Fantilli, with Braden Yeager, you have so many good players in 2023 that could have gone first overall this year had they been eligible this year. Okay, maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's like 2 or 3 players that could have gone first this year, but still, Shane Wright, if you're going to go out there and give up the opportunity of drafting Shane Wright in Montreal, the return better be spectacular, and what Marek is proposing here is indeed spectacular. It's not even like you're losing out on too much in this year's draft anyway, because the gap from Shane Wright to Slafkovsky, or Shane Wright to Cooley, or Shane Wright to anybody else that could go in the top 3 is not that big. At least, in my opinion, it's not. You could get Matthew Savoie at third overall, and he could realistically go out there and maybe get 80-90 points if he pans out well, too. So, for the Montreal Canadiens, if trades like this are coming in, obviously it's not something that happened. It's just Jeff Marek going out there and spitting from the dome right there. If there is a trade idea that says that the Arizona Coyotes would want to give up their first next year, which could be worth gold, I say you take it. You only move down 2 spots in this year's draft, and you get yet another top 5 selection in next year's draft too. In fact, you could go out there and say, okay, why would the Arizona Coyotes want to do this? Why do the Arizona Coyotes want to trade away their first-round pick next year, which would be so valuable? Because the Arizona Coyotes could be kind of desperate. I mean, they're filling up a college arena. Have you seen those ticket prices? They're like $200, $300 a pop because they only have so few seats to fill up that all of a sudden now they have to make their money somehow. They've got to put butts into seats, and so what better way to do that than getting a guy like Shane Wright? Hey, here's the first overall pick. Here's the best Canadian kid to come out of these NHL drafts since, let's just say, Connor McDavid, because he was the last OHL first overall pick, and Lafreniere was QMJHL, Owen Power was NCAA. Let's say the best Ontario kid to come out of a draft since Connor McDavid. He's here in Arizona, first overall pick. Come buy our tickets now in the Arizona State University Stadium. Or, excuse me, not stadium. Stadium is for their football team. The arena. That's right, the arena. Come over here, buy our tickets, and watch this guy. Like, I could honestly understand the rationale behind doing that if they really were desperate and they really wanted to say, okay, we need the first overall pick. We need a marketable star to play here. I mean, for Shane Wright, as we talked about in yesterday's stream, who knows if the guy would actually want to come to Arizona in the first place after he said he would like to play in Montreal. But, as I said, Arizona is Arizona, and it's a pretty nice place to live in. Plus, no state taxes, so you make more money there, too, if you're an athlete. I get it, they're scorpions and rattlesnakes and all that. Are there rattlesnakes in Arizona? I know there are scorpions. That's what somebody in the comments said in yesterday's stream, which was apparently an undesirable thing about living there, but still, Arizona's Arizona. You get a warm, nice place in the sun, and you get to chill out there, play a few games in Arizona, play a few games elsewhere. You don't have too much pressure because, come on, it's the Arizona Coyotes. You just got to show up, you get paid, you don't pay state tax, and it's a pretty good life, right? So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about what Jeff Marek proposed here on 32 Thoughts. The Montreal Canadiens trading their first overall pick for Arizona's third overall pick this year, as well as their first round pick next year, which could be another top 5 pick. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.